What's up everybody, this is Mark from MJ Aquascaping, hope you're doing well. In today's video I'm partnering with BRSFresh to bring you guys a very simple guide on how to choose the right plants for your aquarium. These days there are so many different plant species available, but how do you know which ones are suitable for your tank? I have a very simple 3 to 4 step process that's going to make your life a lot easier, so let's get straight into it. Now before I explain my easy method of finding the right plants for your aquarium, I think it's important that we first kind of go over the basic requirements of aquatic plants. In my opinion, there are like 4 key ingredients, which is water, light, CO2 and nutrients. So let's go over these 4 key ingredients in a little bit more detail, starting with water. Now in general, most people will just use regular tap water for their aquarium, but tap water can change a lot depending on the location. For example, where I live, I have a lot of minerals in the water, so very hard water. And that can affect the growth of certain aquatic plants. I know that in some locations tap water actually has chlorine and chloramine added to it. That can actually be harmful to aquatic plants. So before you get started with setting up your aquarium, it's good to do a little bit of research and know the basic parameters of your tap water. Next up we have light. This one is a little bit tricky because when trying to grow aquatic plants, we need the right amount of light and we need the right quality of light. And if we don't have enough light, plants might suffer, they might stop growing or they might even die. And if we have too much light, then we're very likely to run into some algae issues. Then we have CO2. So CO2 stands for carbon dioxide, and plants absorb carbon dioxide so they can grow. Now CO2 is plenty available in the air around us, but concentrations in the water are a lot lower. So that's why, kind of depending on your goals and the types of plants that you're trying to grow, you might need to consider adding extra carbon dioxide into the water via a CO2 system. And the last one, nutrients. So if you're trying to grow lush and beautiful aquatic plants, you need to supply them with some nutrients in the form of a fertilizer. And this can be done with a nutrient-rich substrate, or through liquid fertilizer, or of course both. The most important nutrients are nitrate, phosphate and potassium. We call these macronutrients. And then we also have like iron, zinc, copper and a few more, and those are of course the micronutrients. Now as a beginner you might not have all 4 of these completely in check. That's okay though, because there's still plenty of plants that will grow even when the conditions are not optimal. And I call these the ultra easy plants. And for this video I've created a list with ultra easy plants, which I will leave in the video description. Most of these are also available through the BRSFresh website. For example, the Hygrophila Polysperma, this is like a super easy and fast growing carpeting plant. Okay, so we've covered all the basics, so now let me explain my simple method to finding the right plants for your aquarium. This is the exact same method that I always use when I'm setting up a new tank myself. Step number 1 is the starting point. Now in order to choose the right plants for our aquarium, we first kind of need to know what kind of environment we're going to provide for these plants. So in other words, what's our setup going to look like? Is it going to be a low-tech setup with low to medium light, no CO2 injection? In that case, we're probably better off sticking to all the easy plants. But maybe you've invested some money in a powerful light, maybe you have a CO2 system as well. Then you can also have a go at trying to grow a few more demanding plants. So that's the first step, almost like creating the foundation. And once you know what the starting point is, it's already a lot easier to narrow down which plants you can grow and which plants you cannot grow. Step number 2 is research and inspiration. These two kind of go hand in hand with each other. Maybe you're starting because you've seen a beautiful tank on YouTube or at your local fish store or at a friend's house. And hopefully these layouts that inspired you will also have some sort of information about the plants that were used. If not, it's no big deal, because these days there are many websites that contain a ton of information about plants. And usually these websites also have filters, so you can search for plants based on their difficulty level, based on their placement in the aquarium, like foreground, midground or background, or their light and CO2 requirements. So it really helps to browse through those websites and look for the plants that you like, but also the plants that will suit your setup in terms of their requirements. Then once you've found them, you will write them down and make a list, and then we move on to the next step. Alright, so we established our starting point, we did our research, and we found the plants that we like and suit our setup. Of course, we could stop here and just go to the shop and buy the plants that we need, but I like to take it one step further just to make sure that my aquarium really has that wow factor. Let's call this next step optimize and select. So I have this list of plants that I like and should work in my setup. Next up, I actually like to make one more list, and here I write down foreground, midground, background, and sometimes also epiphytes, so plants that will grow on wood or rocks. So now I can take my list and see if what I've chosen actually works. By breaking it down into smaller sections, I can actually start to visualize and see how the aquarium is going to look with those plants in it. So that way we can kind of optimize the plant list. Sometimes you'll see that you've maybe chosen too many background plants, and not enough foreground plants, for example. You could actually take this one step further and look at the plant characteristics in terms of color or leaf shape, and then make sure you have some variety in that. But yeah, after these 3 to 4 steps, you should have the perfect plant list that matches your setup as well. So you should have no issues in trying to grow these plants. Now, if after all of this your plants are still not growing, it might be time for some upgrades. Of course, with BRSFresh you're in the perfect place to do that. If you need to upgrade your light, I suggest looking at some of the lights from Aqualumination. I've been using them for a while now and I really like them. If you want to get into CO2 injection, I highly recommend investing in a regulator from CO2 Art. This was my first high-end CO2 regulator. I've been using it for many years and it has never failed me, so highly recommend checking that out as well. Of course, we can't forget about nutrients, and at BRSFresh they offer a great selection of liquid fertilizers as well as some really good plant substrates. But yeah guys, that's it for now. I hope this simple guide will be helpful when you're setting up your next aquarium. If you have any questions, comment down below. As always, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.